crown chopper. Witness it back at the crown chopper.
Knock the shit out your ugly ass.
You have any moves? I'd like to see you incorporate them.
Hello, and welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. You got Jim G. Baby and my co-host, the usual suspect, Steve. How are you, friend?
Hello. Good to see you, Jim.
Good to see... What is that from? I keep saying it in my head, but...
I think it's Billy Madison, where he's like, Carl!
Yeah.
Good to see you.
When he's about to, like, make out or get down with the school teacher.
I don't remember, actually.
Yeah, he's in the tent, and then Crazy Carl comes in, and he's like, Carl!
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you! Like, he wants to knock his block off. Yeah, so episode 7 now. We got a new episode where we cover 1987's Near Dark, directed by Catherine Bigelow. Is this one a complete blind spot for you? Did you ever hear about it in passing or in your punk goth era?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
In my what?
What do you mean by
that?
Well, you said you liked Evil Dead when you ran with the punk scene. That was big with them.
Yeah, we definitely watched some like kind of old horror movies like Night of the Living Dead, Evil Dead, Lost Boys, stuff like that. But no, this one wasn't on my radar at all.
Yeah, this one actually, I didn't realize, but this came out the same year. I think it came out 2 months after Lost Boys, which kind of has a similar vibe.
I thought so when I was watching this one. It reminded me a little bit. Maybe it's like, Deep Impact and like, those like Armageddon movie, like, or the 2 Volcano movies that come out around the same time.
Even The Prestige. It was like The Prestige and then Edward Norton's The Illusionist, which is fucking garbage. Get your shit out of here. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, The Prestige sucks. The Illusionist is like far better. It's like...
Why? How old are you? 10?
I never watched it when it came out, and so after a couple years later I watched it. I was like, dude, that movie is straight dog shit. Don't ever watch it.
I haven't seen it, but I do like Ed Norton. So that's a shame.
I like him a lot too. Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, he's okay, but yeah, it's terrible. But yeah, it's kind of a weird. Is it something in the ether, or people are kind of buzzing around Hollywood and like thinking, what's the next like genre or like the next thing that is like trendy, like vampires, haunted houses. Like what are we?
Or maybe they hear a big studio bought like a Volcano script they're turning into a movie, so they're like, let's jump on that same thing, which it seems weird if something's coming out to be like, hey, let's try to do the exact same thing. you're sort of just diluting your own product, but it is strange. You see that happen every once in a while. They'll just be like 2 of the same things at the same time.
Yeah, I was doing some light reading, and I think what kind of kicked... The 80s were pretty big for horror in general, but I think the new wave of vampire movie, it was in 85. It was kicked off by Fright Night. Have you ever seen Fright Night?
Nope.
It might be a good Halloween time flashback, but that one was like hugely popular in 85, and then I think immediately after that they started working on Lost Boys, the kind of teenage vampire kind of thing going on, and I actually read some of the background of Near Dark, and the gal who directed it, Catherine Bigelow, the studio said you need to make a vampire movie, and she was like, okay, but I want it to be, more of like a Western, have a Western edge, which, if that was what she's going for, I think she accomplished that, because this is, as much as there are similarities of this to Lost Boys, it definitely has like a noticeable kind of Western, like cowboy movie twang to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But going into this, I was certainly expecting just a super corny 80s vampire movie. And I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't super over the top with the vampire stuff. You know, it was kind of a slow burn at first, which I really liked. I liked the movie in general, but I also just really liked the kind of style of it. It wasn't too in your face. Like, I don't even think they said the word vampire at all.
Yeah, now that I think about it, because I'm super fresh, I just finished watching this. I don't think they did say the V word at all.
Yeah,
you
which I liked.
Card
you know,
handed over.
Yeah.
I should get some of those bumps, but yeah, that is kind of a cool thing that they didn't have to. They didn't throw it in your face. Wow. Oh, hey! Before we get real deep into, because we're trending that way, right into the film, I found something funny that I think I already sent you, but I just want to see your reaction.
Is it one man, one jar?
No. Really made this week. I needed this laugh, and it delivered.
You ain't gonna believe this, man. I hollered at this girl, right? So when I knocked on the door and went to her crib, she said she wanna get a freak on. I said, what? She said she wanna get a freak on, bitch. I said, well, goddamn, I'm down with that. I know I can eat pussy and do all that type of shit and stick it real good. That's why they call me Super D, bitch. You know what the bitch wanted me to do? She say, Super D. Super D, I want you to shit on me. I said, what? The bitch want me to shit on her. I said, you got Super D fucked up, cause I ain't that freaky. God motherfucking damn. You ain't gonna believe this, man.
Oh, man. Oh, fuck.
Wow.
That shit made me laugh so hard. Especially the end with all, God motherfucking damn. Oh.
Wow.
Anywho, that was my good, hearty guffaw for this week that came in right when I needed it to. Okay. All right. So back to this week's topic, Near Dark, directed by Catherine Bigelow.
Near dark. Pray for daylight.
Pray for daylight. That's another weird thing too, is seeing the evolution of movie trailers from like the 80s to like now. It's pretty wild. Like one of the main ones for Near Dark, it's literally like maybe a sentence and then 2 minutes of just action and like a synth dusty jazz fart guitar in the background and explosions and no like coming this summer, like, you know, all that shit. And then at the end it's like Near Dark. And then like now you see like trailers are just like, they're almost like a mini movie in themselves. They give away too much almost at times, but anywho,
even if you watch old commercials, you know, if you happen to come across, you know, if you watch something that you recorded 10, 20, 30 years ago, like on VHS, and you see just some of the commercials from the time, it's bizarre when you compare it to modern commercials, you know.
Dude, I got lost in a fucking YouTube K-hole one day, and it was like 90s commercials, and one of the ones that I remembered, it was either on Ninja Turtles or Ninja Turtles 2 at the beginning, and it was like a dramatization of like a baseball game, and then they go to a Pizza Hut right after the game, and it's like this, like, I remember it so well because I watched that Ninja Turtles VHS tape like 1,000 times when I was a kid. So I remembered the beginning like crystal clear, like when they're all going to the old school Pizza Hut, and like it brought back heavy nostalgia. Like even like the old, like those red cups that were like
yep, I know, yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're saying.
And like the salad
I saw the commercial for Crossfire. Do you remember that game?
Oh yeah,
the 90s. Could still remember the theme song, you know, all these years later without having seen it. Kids are like pouring sweat playing this game.
Yeah. I remember seeing that, like, oh shit, Crossfire, that looks intense. Look at how heavily they're perspiring.
Yeah.
And they had like this like
I never
crazy
played it, but
yeah.
they look like they're playing it in hell.
yeah, there's like these red lights like coming up, angled perfectly, and like sweat, and yeah, the 80s crossfire. So, okay, so I think the $64,000 question is, what did you think of Near Dark?
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Nice.
It definitely exceeded my expectations. The corniness level was far below what I was expecting. I mean, it's still an 80s vampire movie, so if anybody hasn't seen it, I would recommend it, but don't expect there to be zero corniness. I was able to watch it for free. I got if you have Amazon Prime, they actually give you 3 options for a free trial. You can do Shudder, AMC Plus, and there's another one I'm not remembering, but I mean, all of them are free. So if you had a bunch of other stuff on one of those services you wanted to watch in that free week, knock yourself out. You can pick whichever service you like more. But yeah, it was really easy just to find it on there. And Bill Paxton is just a legend, taken too soon, as we've talked about before.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome in this. If you say that he's not your favorite part of this movie, then you're higher than balls on a giraffe.
Yeah, no, he definitely is, the, I guess, lightning rod of excitement. He's just such a wild character.
It's funny. This is one of the movies I didn't think I'd feel this way about, but I probably haven't seen this in maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer, maybe 5 years. But this is one that I came to pretty late in the game. I didn't watch it till 20 years after it came out, almost. Like I had heard, it's like, it's a deep cut in horror and like the vampire subgenre. And I saw, oh shit, Bill Paxton's in it. The gal who made Point Break. Fuck yeah, sign me up. So I went and watched it as soon as I learned about it. I was like, oh yeah, that was dope. And then kind of forgot about it. And then I was like, oh, this would be perfect for a podcast episode. It hits all the boxes. And then, to be honest, I watched it again. And I was kind of bored with it. Like, it may sound like sacrilege to some groups, but I don't know. Something about it didn't stick with me, and I wasn't like into it as much as I thought I was or would be again. Because as quick it is, I mean, I think it's 93 minutes. As quick as it is it is a very slow burn, punctuated by some pretty cool parts and like high energy stuff, but it definitely takes a while to get to like any semblance of like vampire shit, which I thought was it. I didn't remember it that way when I had first watched it, but yeah, I would actually I'm borderline not recommend on this. Like I didn't really care for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely had some slow parts, but I don't know. Overall, I enjoyed the sort of build up, like the beginning. The beginning is kind of slow with him and the gal, but there are some scenes of like ultimate brutality that are so awesome. I feel like it makes up for some of the slower parts.
Yeah, I think my biggest qualm this time around is our main character, our main protagonist that we're watching the events through and we're supposed to like be rooting for and liking, is a fucking baby back bitch. I did not like him at all. Caleb, played by Adrian Pastar, of
I looked
Prophet.
up his IMDb. I don't recognize him from anything.
No, I think the biggest thing probably people...
He's done a million things, but...
Yeah. I think the biggest thing people probably recognize him from is Heroes, but I never watched Heroes, and he was in a short... weird memory of him is they came out with a show called Prophet in like 1993 on Fox, and I think it followed up like X-Files. And I watched it and I was like, I think I was way too young for it, but it was Garb. He's Garb in this movie. I did not like him. He's just like a whiny, like, I didn't see what there was to like latch on to him. He seemed like a generic and not very good, like, cowboy, like young cowboy, fish out of water. I just thought he's horrible, terrible. And the chick, too, that he's supposedly in love with, I didn't buy that at all. And I didn't really care for her performance either. May?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping because, you know, I don't know how far we want to, because this one is definitely a deep cut. I wouldn't be surprised if not a lot of people have seen it. So I don't know how much you want to give away, or if you want to just hold back.
Fuck it.
Or kind of...
I want to steamroll right through it, because if people are coming to listen to a podcast about it, I feel like they would have to have watched it, or who knows. I don't think there's a ton to spoil in the film either, because it's kind of just like foot down, like here you go. I mean, it's a vampire movie. I don't think we need to save anybody. And I think it has it already has a huge following too of like people that like it. So.
Oh really? Wow. Okay. So I guess that's just kind of surprising. But so in the beginning, he definitely comes across as like kind of rapey, kind of douchey. I thought for sure he was just going to be like a first scene kill.
Yeah, like a red shirt.
I thought she was just going to kill him and then, you know, move on. Like it was just a little setup. So I was surprised that he became the main character, I guess, of the whole movie. Because, yeah, I agree. I certainly wasn't overwhelmed by his character or his acting, but
yeah, I was not a fan. I guess too. Let's just run through the cast real quick because they got some. It has actually a pretty solid ass cast. So our main guy Caleb, as we've discussed, is played by Adrian Pastar. And then there's May, who is like, you know, his teenage, like early 20s equivalent, who is a vampire, and they fall in love, or he hits on her, and she must be thinking like, oh, here's easy dinner. But then I think it kind of turns, like she's like, ooh, I like this guy, and, you know, what if I can turn him and he can kind of join our motley crew of vampires because I'm lonely, kind of thing. So, and then she's supported by their little enclave.
And he didn't. It's funny because it's not like he came across as like a nice guy to where, you know, if she originally was like, oh, I'm just gonna kill this guy and drink his blood. It's not like he was very endearing. He was just kind of like, hey, what are you doing? Like,
yeah,
just kind of rapey, you know, just like creepy, like, you'll have to kiss me now. It's like, God, this is like the perfect guy to just kill.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they did a great job of him being like a really likable dude to where she wouldn't want to just end him. So yeah, I thought that was surprising. Like, I want to hang out with this guy forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's even weirder too because that's like kind of like a teenage, you know, like late teens, early 20s kind of puppy love that you could buy into if she's like, ooh, he's a pretty face, you know, like I like him, you know. But she's a fucking vampire, and I mean, maybe she is a new vampire, but you got to think, I mean, she's got to be older than what her age she's presenting as is. Like, she could be like 35, she could be 50.
So she said she got turned when she was in high school, and I thought she said it was 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. So she's still kind of in that realm. Okay, that makes sense. Because, like, the young kid who will get to Homer, he's like 80 or something is what I gathered. Like, he's an old man in, like, a 10-year-old's body. Because he happened to be turned when he was, like, 9 or 10. So he's just, like, a little shit. But he has, like, the
also
mindset.
Creepy.
Yeah, very creepy once we get to that point. So then, going into him, so Homer is like an 80-year-old vampire stuck in a 10-year-old's body. He is from... Do you remember... have you ever seen Teen Witch?
No.
With Blake Lively's mom or older sister, Robin Lively? Dime.
No. Don't even know who that is.
You'll probably remember it from this. Remember our old co-worker, Castro? How he used to do that one song, that rap. I think he played it once. That Top That. You remember that? Top That at all?
I guess.
Anyway, that's from Teen Witch. So this kid, I don't know what the actor's name is, but
okay, yeah, I do vaguely remember that now.
Yeah, Top That.
It was horrible.
Yeah,
that was bad.
people that are familiar with Teen Witch will know exactly what we're talking about. The top that sequence, but that kid's in that movie, and he plays kind of like a similar character. He's obviously not a vampire, but he plays like just a creepy little fucking kid that's like trying to steal glances at his sister in the fucking shower and shit. He's just an unfortunate human looking, looking, and like the way he talks and like his whole aura is slightly off-putting, but so I didn't
look at his IMDb or anything, but I'm wondering if he got a lot of creepy, like weird pedo roles, because he seems to fit it.
Yeah, he's got a pretty thin biography, but he was in a couple kind of 80s, early 90s horror leaning things, and then getting into the good stuff, we got Bill Paxton, who plays Severin. He's just like your token...
What a
badass motherfucker. I like too how when they're doing all their introductions of like this vampire clan, they're like, Homer, Diamondback, and then Bill Paxton takes him and he fucking lifts him up by his shoulders. He's like, I'm your worst fucking nightmare, pal. And then they're all, that's Severin. Like, his intro is awesome. And then you got the gal named Diamondback, who some people may remember as, I can't remember what her name is, she's in Aliens. She's like badass soldier woman with like the fucking hip mounted like light machine gun in Aliens. And then she played the mom in Terminator 2. You remember Terminator 2 when like she's on the phone and she fucking knifes the dude with her arm when she's the T-1000, like right through the milk carton and through his mouth?
It's been a long time since I've seen the Terminator movies, and I've never seen Aliens, so...
Chase, what the fuck were you thinking about here?
That is a travesty. I don't think it'd be germane to our podcast to cover it, but you should just watch Aliens when you get a chance. It's fucking badass.
I did.
Bill Paxton.
I did notice as the kid. The hell's the kid's name? Archie or Caleb? When he was like stumbling around. Yeah, whatever. I knew he had some stupid dipshit name. When he was like stumbling around, there was a movie theater in the background, which was clearly meant to be like, hey, look at this not so subtle background detail. Yep. And it showed Aliens was playing, and I remembered what you said about this director, Catherine Bigelow, was married to James Cameron, and did he do that movie, or there's some connection, right? Yeah,
there's actually a bunch of funky little connections between this movie and Aliens and James Cameron and Catherine Bigelow and Terminator 2. She's like sharing actors and like relationships involved. But yeah, that's definitely... James Cameron did the second Alien movie, Aliens, in 86, so the year prior to this. And I can't remember if I think it's in the trivia when we get to it. I don't know if he was seeing... I don't think he was seeing Catherine Bigelow at this time, but I think they were friends and they worked together, kind of thing. Because like there's a lot of crossover between Near Dark and Aliens. Like the gal who plays Diamondback, Bill Paxton, they're both in Aliens. Bigelow and Cameron knew each other, and I guess too, our final character, main character in Near Dark is Jesse, who is played by Lance Henriksen, who is also in Aliens. He plays Bishop, the android, who has a dope death scene in Aliens.
Wow, thanks. Guess I don't need to watch it now.
Damn it. Still watch it. It's dope. But yeah, he's a great actor too. But yeah, that's another little bit of crossover. And then I guess too, there's a guy, Michael Bain. You know Michael Bain? No? Crickets? Michael Bain. Are you familiar with him?
I thought it was Michael Bean.
Maybe it is. I don't like to pronounce it that way. Yeah. Con Air. Con shit. Rock? Yes, The Rock.
He's the guy in The Rock, right?
Yeah, like the upstanding dude, and they get gunned down in that like little area in the prison because he won't go through with Ed Harris's orders, you know?
Oh, wait, is that him?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm thinking of...
He's like, tell your men to stand down, and then they just open fire from like an elevated position on him.
Okay, I must be confusing him with somebody else then. Never mind, forget it.
He's like one of the main characters, Kyle Reese, in the very first Terminator, the OG Terminator. Have you never seen the OG?
I have. It must have been when I was a kid. I don't remember anything about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, the first Terminator is actually it's more of a horror film than an action movie. It's definitely very much an action movie, but it's got a weird kind of like killer, like Arnold, who plays the Terminator in the first one, has a very like serial killer vibe about him.
What's the one where he goes into the bar naked and he's like, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle?
Yeah, that's Deuce. That's Terminator Deuce.
Okay.
He plays like a good guy.
I remember that.
Yeah, he turns from heel to... Another fun fact, the dude that he when he tells him, I need your boots, your motorcycle, and all that shit, the biker with the beard,
yeah,
and he presses his hand onto like the griddle, that dude is in the bar scene in Near Dark that Bill Paxton punches and spits the shot of whiskey in his face.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this
That's
part,
funny.
How many shots, whatever donkey piss you're shoving down these cocksuckers' throats. Hey.
That dude with like the beard, like the red hair, the long hair,
yeah.
That's the same guy in Terminator. So there's another bit of Near Dark, Terminator, Cameron crossover. That's just another fun fact.
It is fun.
Yeah, I just got super sidetracked. Anyway, yeah, Michael Biehn, he was in talks to play Lance Henriksen's character of Jesse, who that just would have been another thread tying this together with the vortex of Catherine Bigelow, James Cameron, and all those movies. So Lance Henriksen I like a lot. His character, he's the one with like the scarred up face, the old dude. And when they ask him how old he is, he's like, well, I fought for the South and we lost. Like, to give you an idea. So he's like, what, 300 years old? 200 years old?
Well, if this was 87 and the Civil War was 1860s, it'd be like 150 or 170 or something.
There you go. Okay.
Because he looks like he's about 50.
Yeah.
Or he looks like a modern 70-year-old, but back in the 80s, I feel like that's what a 50-year-old would look like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you probably know him from Aliens, obviously, as Bishop. He was also in a kind of like a deep cut, a horror fave called Pumpkinhead. You probably saw it like on VHS covers, like going through Blockbusters as a kid, but it's a big like alien looking thing. He's in that. He's pretty badass. He's done a lot of horror. He's done a lot of horror stuff, but anyway, yeah. So that's the ragtag pack of strays, pack of vampires that Caleb, this country bumpkin from Who Gives a Fuck, Oklahoma, gets wrapped up in after being turned by May, his love interest, and then it's kind of like. That's where I thought this plot kind of slogged, is like getting from him to like, okay, yeah, you're a vampire now. We're going to give you a shot in our crew. Then he's got to feel the effects of like, oh shit, I'm a vampire. What the fuck's wrong with me? He tries eating a candy bar to like, because he's fucked up, thinking maybe he needs to eat, and he spits it out. It's like, oh shit, I only need blood now. Like that, getting up to like that, really that bar scene, I feel like it just took way too long. I don't know, it could have just been my mood today, the way I am right now watching it. It just kind of bounced off me like fucking Teflon.
No, you're not wrong. And I think I gave it some points retroactively because of how brutal that scene in particular was. It just made it more worth it for me. If it had been like kind of a dud scene or scenes going on from there, because after that, it kind of drags a little bit too, when he goes back home, and that's when it didn't get so much slow for me. It was just kind of dumb. Like when he goes back home, I was like, okay, when we can get into that whenever you want. that's when I was like, all right. And I'm checking the timer to see how much is left. Like, okay, only 20 minutes left in this. Let's see if they can land this.
Yeah. All right, so you're talking about when he first comes back home, when he's like becoming crispy by the second, traipsing across the field.
So, yeah, so that, where we left off story-wise is him. I did like the part when the cop pulled him aside and is like, well, you're a fucking problem. Come over here. We're going to talk to you. And, then gives him the money on the bus, whatever. So then he finds out from May that he needs to drink the blood. And so they start trying to get him to kill people or whatever. With a little kid pretends like he got hit by a car and he's laying next to the bike and the guy pulls over and they just eats him. Like, all right, that's pretty cool,
Number 6, man urinates on fellow passenger for not being allowed to smoke.
And then Bill Paxton gets those hitchhikers, that I thought that was a kind of cool little montage of, well, this is how they get this fixed every night.
Yeah.
And then he just has to turn into a bitch and he won't kill anybody and and so they take him to this bar. And I think the bar scene is like the best part of the entire movie.
Oh yeah, that's the crown jewel for sure.
And they just make trouble and kill everybody in there, or almost everybody. But, Bill Paxton, when he's got the spurs and he's just like shredding that guy's throat with the spurs.
Yeah, that was pretty hardcore.
That is everything I've ever wanted in a movie.
Yeah, that is live action. Live action!
Yeah, so one of the guys survives because, what the hell's this guy's name? Caleb, because Caleb is such a bitch, he won't eat him.
The trucker?
So then that guy, no, the guy who escapes from the bar.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so this guy was meant for him to consume. He chases him down, bitches out at the last second, and then the guy escapes, and they're able to track them down to the motel that they stay at, and there's a big
to-do there.
Shootout, and that's when he sort of ingratiates himself to the group by, taking the chance to go get the van or whatever, and so they're like, well, okay, maybe he's not all bad if he's willing to put himself on the line to help the crew or whatever. But then when they go to the next motel, I thought that part was pretty cool too, when you get to see how much of a creep the little...
Yeah.
The what?
Oh, when they go to the hotel and they're his dad and his little baby sister, who's like 10, just happen to be at that motel too.
Yeah, because his dad and his sister are out there looking for him, and they happen to cross paths at this motel where the little kid, or the old man who's stuck in the little boy's body, is out.
Homer.
And he sees and then he sees the sister. Yeah, it's just creepy. He like takes her back to the room, wants to turn her, and like she's like, what? How old do you think she is? Like 8?
Yeah, she's got to be between 8 and 10. And it doesn't jive with the internal logic of the film. I guess maybe just like, you don't know how that's going to play with somebody's mind, but this dude's got to be like between 60 and 80 because they call him Old Man. And he talks about how much of a pain in the ass it is to be immortal, yet be in the body of a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
So that would make you think, okay, then why is he see this other 10-year-old, maybe 8-year-old girl, and think like, oh, she's like me, like I didn't like that at all, but because I feel like it goes against that internal logic. Like he would want to make it with like he'd want to be around someone older, like he knows how things work, but who knows how that plays with your mind. But yeah, when they bring her in, I was like,
if he's been around for, well, even if he's only been like that for 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, he hasn't turned anyone before. Like, oh, just now he decides he wants to do it?
Yeah.
That seems kind of weird. Maybe it's just because what's-her-name did it, and so he gets the idea to do it for himself.
Yeah.
But it was like...
presented the opportunity.
Dude, chill. She's a little girl.
Yeah. Dude,
so
okay.
Anyway, they God.
So this might be getting into conspiracy zone here, but one thing that just struck me, like as I just was watching this, so when they bring her in, Sarah, the little 8, 9, 10-year-old girl, and she's walking in with Homer, and they're in the motel, they're sitting there playing cards, they have a TV on in the background, and they're like, hey, what are you doing, Homer? She's too young, or like, why'd you bring her in here? Bill Paxton says, who ordered pizza? Did you hear that part? And there's no mention of pizza. There's no pizza brought there. No one called for pizza or anything. And I mean, you know, some people know that depending how deep you go on the internet, that's pizza is the pedo code for girl, you know, young girl. And so that part kind of struck me. I was like, wait, because it shows the girl walk across the film and they're talking about her, and then Bill Paxton, it sounded like he's dubbed in over, like, later in post-production. It's like, hey, who ordered pizza? And no one, and that's it.
I do remember that, and thinking it was strange. I guess I just assumed he meant, like, oh, somebody brought food home, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the obvious explanation, and that's probably what it was. Or maybe they had a scene where they got pizza delivered and it got cut or something. But it just struck me because, like, you see her come across the screen and she's entered in, and then it's, hey, who ordered pizza? You know, it just kind of, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it struck me as like a weird thing. Like,
Chase, don't do that.
I did think it was funny when they come in, and because they say it's like 5 a.m. or something, and she's like, why are you guys all still awake? And Bill Paxton just has that like shit-eating grin on his face. He's like, we stay up for weird hours or something.
He says, we keep odd hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite parts too.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what do you think my favorite part of this movie is?
Let's see. Favorite part.
Almost, you can almost bet your bottom dollar it's something that Bill Paxton did, which I think is a given.
I don't know. I can't think of one.
Actually, no. Now that in my heart of hearts, it's not that part. It's how corny the very end, when Caleb is watching Diamondback and Jesse drive away, and they're about to fucking all die. 6, 7 in the morning, the sun's coming up, and they're just smoking. They're just starting to crisp up in the car. And then there's a shot, like, of Caleb, and it zooms in, and the music's all dramatic, and he's all, roast.
Yeah.
Like, what? You couldn't come up with a better...
Somehow May's okay, sitting out in the wide open, but they're spontaneously combusting inside a car.
Well, she got the magical blood transfusion as well. Which I didn't like that.
After that
part.
Well, that was later.
Oh, it was. That's right. Well, she had.
Yeah, and I also thought that was a really stupidly convenient way of him to go back to normal. It's like, oh, I just got a blood transfusion. What?
He gets a gun put to his head, and then he fucks a dishwasher.
How does that work?
Well, my dad's a vet.
Near dark, pray for daylight.
Yeah, and it's funny looking back, like they just show that one scene of his dad like sticking a pig or something with a needle, like right before the Caleb gets kidnapped, and then when he's like asks his dad about doing a blood transfusion later, it's like, oh, okay, well that one scene where it shows him messing with the pig makes more sense now, but
it's like, here's your foreshadowing. He can do things with blood and syringes.
Yeah, but that still doesn't explain, like, why does that work? Putting just a pint, putting a pint or whatever it is of somebody else's blood in you makes you go back to normal, but drinking people's blood does not. How does that work?
Yeah. That's part of the magic.
And I thought they were awfully wasteful with the bodies that they killed, you know, because if they have to eat every night, and it's probably difficult. So there's 4 or 5 of them. Every night they have to go out and murder 4 or 5 people and not get caught. I feel like they left a lot of blood in some of those bodies. You know, they just like killed them, just took a few sucks and then moved on.
Yeah. I feel like that's a pretty common thing in a lot of vampire movies too. It's like, I think Blade gets it pretty close to like practicality when they show, you know, like their blood bank fronts, and like, you know, they have a whole like side explanation for like how they harvest blood, how they keep it. But even still, like, these people not having those kinds of resources, they're constantly on the run and shit, and like living like gypsies. You would think, they would have some kind of like refrigeration system or something on their motorhome to sustain themselves a little bit better. But
or maybe live in a city that's not in the middle of nowhere with a population of 9.
Yeah.
You know, just go live in like a big city.
Yeah, live somewhere where it's fucking overcast. Jesus Christ. Yeah, let's live out in Oklahoma, beating sun. Yeah, this movie, it didn't land the way I had remembered it, or like everything that it comes with, you know. It's because I think it's hailed, like, it definitely has a following, and it's hailed as, you know, like an 80s, like, deep cut, like, defies, like, genre conventions kind of thing. And, I mean, I will give it credit that it's not just a straight up, like, dumb kind of, like, vampire movie cashing in on, like, the vampire mythos. It puts a little bit of a spin on it, like the kind of the Western angle I can definitely see, and like they're like a pack of gypsies, and they're not like all rich and like have everything dialed in. They're just kind of like scavengers, nomads. But I mean, it's pretty quick. It's pretty light. It's only 90 minutes. So yeah, I think it just...
Yeah, notwithstanding all the negative stuff I just said, I still like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough for me to hold on to with just Bill Paxton's performance, and to a lesser degree, I like Lance Henriksen. So that's kind of what pulls me through and like keeps it from being like absolute dog shit to me, because I really don't care for anyone else in the film. But yeah, the story's original, or a little... It's got its own unique kind of take on the vampire subgenre, like with its setting and its cast of characters. But I thought, like, with Bill Paxton being like, you know, he steals the show. There's a couple of his one-liners that I noted that I really liked. Obviously when they introduce him and he says, "I'm your worst fucking nightmare." The one where they're in the bar, he's like, he spills that dude's drink, and he's like, "Hey, you spilled my drink." And he's like, "Well, why don't you lick it up off the bar, meatball?" I thought meatball was such a funny... Or the other one, too, where he's like, when he's staring down Caleb in the truck, and he's like, "I'm going to knock your tonsils out your asshole. What do you think about them apples?" Yeah, he's definitely... He steals every scene that he's in, basically. I did like Lance Henriksen's his one-liner towards the end, where he's like, "The last sound that you hear on your way to hell is going to be your guts snapping like a bullwhip." I was like, I've never heard that before. And he says at one point, "It's time to pay the fiddler," and that's a callback to. Have you ever seen Weird Science, 1985 with Bill Paxton?
I have.
He said there's a point where he's like walking down the stairs as Chet in Weird Science, and he's like, "You're stewed, buttwad. Time to pay the fiddler." Dude, he's so good in Weird Science. I loved him as Chet.
I haven't seen that since I was a kid. I just remember he has...
It's a good flashback.
Like a duffel bag full of guns.
Oh, yeah.
Like buried in the backyard or something.
Yeah, and he's got like a bearskin like blanket, and he's got, you know, shit stuffed all over his room. Plays like the macho, like hunter, like army, military type dude.
When he said "time to pay the fiddler," that made me think of Dirty Work, where Chris Farley.
Oh yeah,
I think he's talking to the Saigon whore.
Yeah, "Time to pay the fiddler, whore." I think one other than Bill Paxton in this movie, the other thing I really liked a lot was the soundtrack and score, which was done by Tangerine Dream. You ever heard of them? Familiar? They're up there with like synth heavy, like electronic krautrock. Put you up there with like, you know, Kraftwerk or...
Kraftwerk is dog shit. They are so bad.
Well, is Bauhaus in that mix?
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Because they're German, right?
I assume they are. I mean, their name would make you think so. Kraftwerk is such garbage. Bauhaus is so much better.
Bauhaus. House.
Their music definitely would have gone with the vibe of this movie.
Yeah, I like Tangerine Dream. They've done a lot of shit, actually.
Did they do all of the soundtrack? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. They also did 1977 Sorcerer, Thief, Risky Business, Firestarter, Legend, directed by Ridley Scott. God damn it. Yeah, they did Thief, Risky Business, Firestarter, Legend, 3 O'Clock High, Near Dark. That's kind of it. Oh, they also did The Keep.
Bauhaus is actually English. How fun.
How fun. So where would you put this if you were comparing it to, another vampire film, The Lost Boys, that was released the same year? You said you've seen that. Which one do you think out of those two is better for you after just watching this?
I don't know if it would be fair because I haven't seen Lost Boys since I was probably 16 at the oldest.
Oh, no way.
And I honestly can't think of another vampire movie I've even seen. So I don't know what I would even compare it to.
John Carpenter's Vampires, starring James Woods. No?
Never seen it.
It's pretty bad. It's kind of got like a horror, Western kind of styling to it. But that's kind of the next thing. Like when I think of Near Dark, the next closest thing I think of is, to a lesser degree, Lost Boys. But more so like Vampires, which came out like 10 years later. But yeah.
Yeah. The idea of vampires it's always been kind of dumb to me. So like I never really had any interest, even though I do like horror movies, never really had much of an interest in vampires. It just seemed kind of stupid.
Yeah, I'm not a big vampire guy either, but I thought that the way Near Dark plays it, you would appreciate, or it wouldn't be so like lore, like mythos heavy on the vampire. Like you said, they don't even say the word vampire, which is refreshing.
I think that's why I liked it as much as I did, because I went into it kind of expecting, like, all right, this is going to be kind of stupid. But it certainly exceeded my expectations. So if you haven't seen it and you want to, I would just say lower your expectations and you'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah, just a scotch.
Or if you've listened this far and you haven't seen it, you're probably not going to enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe just find some of the choice nugs of Bill Paxton and the bar scene. That'll get you through.
Or just watch Twister.
Yeah, or just watch Twister or any number of his other films. I did like one last positive point. I liked his creature gore effects after getting hit by the truck at the end. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's all mangled up.
I'm thinking maybe we should just turn this into a Bill Paxton movie podcast. Dedicated to his honor.
Dude, he's in a ton of shit. But Twister's pretty high for me when we're talking Paxton, I think. I would say... Yeah.
I don't know if you and I have talked about this, but I've been saying for a couple years that if Bill Paxton was still alive, I think a Twister prequel would be sick.
How would you do that?
Because you go into it and...
Would you de-age him, like CGI, or would you just, like, try and make do with makeup effects, or have a younger person play him?
If he was... Yeah, I don't know. If he was still alive and it wasn't 30 years after the first one was made, if they made a prequel closer to the time. But, yeah, because they're like, you go into Twister and they're like, wow, he used to be such a badass. Like, I want to see that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, all the stuff that, like, the lore of him and Helen Hunt and their wild shenanigans, I think that would have been ripe for a prequel. And probably if it was made, if it would have been plucked out and made, if it would have existed at a later time, they probably would have. Because I think it made a shit ton at the box office. But
Cary Elwes.
Yep. Dude, that dude's like an ageless wonder, man. He's like 70-something now. And he looks good for 70. Like, he does not look that old at all. Yeah. He was just in season 3 of Stranger Things that came out a couple years ago. And he's super old. He looks like he's not a day over like 50. He's like 70-something. But
yeah, because when did Princess Bride come out? Was that late 80s?
Fuck, yeah, I want to say that's like 89.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, so that was over 30 years ago in 87?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, shit. He's only 59. That's crazy. I thought he was older than that. Okay, so I can buy that. That's easier to buy, but he still looks great for 59. I'll say that. Yeah, it looks like later in his career, Bill Paxton wasn't in a ton of stuff like post the year 2000, with the exception being he did like 6 or 7 seasons of that show Big Love about the Mormon shit on HBO, the polygamous
Right. No,
stuff.
yeah, I never saw it.
Yeah, my wife loves it. I can't stand it.
You're more of like a Sister Wives guy.
Yeah, totally. or Bridezillas. Yeah, the 90s, it was, that was his time. He was in, there's another good Western, what is it called? From the early 90s that kind of just got passed over. I think it's called like Frank and Jesse. And it's about Jesse James, and I don't know who the fuck Frank is, but, oh, his brother, Frank James. Yeah. Frank and Jesse's a good flick. He's kind of like pretty side character in Tombstone.
Frank and Jesse, you say?
Mm-hmm. He's also, Bill Paxton's also in one of my favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes, People Who Live in Brass Hearses. He plays opposite Brad Dourif, who was in The Exorcist 3, and he played the voice of Chucky in all the Child's Play movies. He's an awesome actor. But yeah, People Who Live in Brass Hearses, that's like one of the all-time best Tales from the Crypt episodes. And honestly, he kind of plays similar to the way he is in Near Dark. He almost plays that same character, except he's not a vampire. They actually have a lot of Tales from the Crypt episodes on YouTube. Maybe I'll shoot you the link for that, because they're nice bite-sized. I think they're like 23-minute long episodes. He's super good in that one.
You have any moves? I'd like to see you incorporate them.
And yeah, dude, homework for you at some point. You should just watch Aliens, even just for Bill Paxton's performance alone. But the movie's dope. It's really cool. And you don't have to watch any of the other Alien movies to have, like, context. You could just watch it. It's a straight-up badass, like, action sci-fi. And there's a lot of cool shit that happens, and Bill Paxton's A+ in it. He's got some of his most memorable lines from Aliens. All right, well, I think that's going to put Near Dark to bed. Unless, do you have any final thoughts or anything else you want to...
God, how good was Apollo 13?
He's good in that, too. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, that's one of those movies where, you know how it ends, but it's still on the edge of your seat watching it.
I don't know if you remember this, but because you're a couple of years younger than me, but when it came out, it was, I think, after Apollo 13, Tom Hanks did like a 10-part miniseries on HBO called From the Earth to the Moon.
No, I never saw that.
It's kind of similar in the vein of, you know, how he did Saving Private Ryan, and then he jumped into, a couple years later, into Band of Brothers, and he was like executive producer, like he was all over it, you know?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he, like, him and Spielberg, after Saving Private Ryan, they wanted to make a longer miniseries about World War II, and like, because they're huge history buffs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're the main like executive producers on Band of Brothers. But so preceding that, he did the same thing because he's got a huge hard on for NASA too. After Apollo 13, he worked with I don't know if Ron Howard was involved with the miniseries too, but Tom Hanks was also a executive producer for From the Earth to the Moon. So I don't know where it's available. I'm sure it's on HBO Max, but yeah, if you ever get a chance and you liked Apollo 13, I'm sure they're kind of like cognates, or they're very similar production style, like the story, similar to how Private Ryan and Band of Brothers are. You can feel that kind of connective tissue. It's the same thing with, dude, I remember, I feel like a nerd because I was in like 7th or 8th grade, and like I was like on pins and needles like every week for the new From the Earth to the Moon to come out. And it kind of charted, I can't remember, I think they did different eras every couple episodes. So like they did the Apollo, like you see what happened to Gus Grissom, is that what his name was? Or the dude who died in like the first or second Apollo launch, like Apollo 1, Apollo 2.
I thought like 3 guys died in the simulator.
I don't know about that.
Or was that Apollo 1?
I don't know. I always get them confused. Either Apollo 1 or Apollo 2 ended, like, they actually, like, went live and they shot people out into space and they burned alive on the ground, I think. Like, while they were doing their takeoff initiation. So it was like a catastrophic, like, failure. And so they burned up, I think, before they even got off of the ground or very shortly thereafter. I don't think they ever got outside of our atmosphere, but I get one of the most famous guys.
I thought it was during a training exercise, but I'm only getting that from, I thought that's what they were talking about in Apollo 13, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I can
Do you remember letting me borrow Band of Brothers? And after like a month, I'd only got through like 2 of them, and you're like, I'm gonna need that back.
I think we were coming up on like Veterans Day or something, and I have to watch it like every year. So that was before like the ubiquity of streaming and all that shit. And I bought it. It was like $40 at like Target for like the 9-disc or 10-disc tin that had all the special features and everything. But yeah, Band of Brothers.
Well, because how long is it?
Excellent. It's like 10 hours. Like, so each episode for Band of Brothers is like anywhere between an hour and 15 minutes. And then I think at the end of that, there's another disc. It's like a 2.5-hour documentary making Band of Brothers, and like, you know, all the way from casting to like, they put those guys through like, same with Saving Private Ryan. They went through like a 2 to 3 week boot camp. And it just like, there's a bunch of other things, like the dude who played, can't remember his name.
David Schwimmer.
No, he is in it, and he's good in it. He plays
Ross.
such a piece of shit, dude. Yeah, that's just a good series. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it when you get a chance. It's on HBO. It's dope. I wasn't as big of a fan of the Pacific Theater that they did a few years later. I didn't really care for that, but
They try to do the same type of thing.
yeah, just like turning it inward or you know, showing the other side. So they did it like Saving Private Ryan style, but on the Pacific Theater. So if you're looking for a dope Pacific Theater of World War II, I can't recommend The Thin Red Line any higher. That one's really good. Sean Penn, Nick Nolte, Woody Harrelson, a few other folks, Jim Caviezel, JC, Jesus Christ himself.
I remember seeing that movie Case all the time.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. It's really good. It's definitely more of like a philosophical kind of like, you know, what is war? You know, it's definitely got more of that angle to it. But I feel like at least in some scenes, like the depiction of war is even more. It's at least the same, if not more intense than some of the scenes in Private Ryan. Like it feels a little bit more gritty and a little bit more hopeless in some scenes. It's definitely I think it's the same runtime. It's like around 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 hours, but it's definitely more of like a meditation on war and like the horrors of war and those kinds of things, whereas Private Ryan's a little bit more straight ahead, I guess, in some ways, but yeah, that's
kind of like Jacob's Ladder. I remember thinking, like, God, that was such a mind fuck.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wouldn't have picked you for having seen Jacob's Ladder. No, it's definitely a different kind of film, but I guess it kind of goes into the deeper reaches of like the mind and like how we process like trauma and shit like that. But
I want to watch The Deer Hunter. Is it kind of like that? Like a weird...
dude. Deer Hunter is excellent. Very good. Deer Hunter's a little bit more drama, but it feels very real. It shows more of like coming home from the war and then like dealing, like it lives there kind of like how you would live. Whereas all these other war films for 90%, it's like a depiction of what happened in war, and you don't really get to pull back. Deer Hunter definitely shows like, you know, the scars and like what you would have to deal with coming back and like being a fucking mailman, you know, like and dealing with the shit that you've seen and grappling and stuff like that.
Sounds like a real bummer. So does that Moon series you're talking about show how they faked the moon landing?
You're a moon guy. No.
Is that why you're watching it so intently, waiting for the big reveal at the end?
No. It plays it very historically accurate and pretty straight. But it's also got kind of like a Hollywood kind of cinematic sheen on it as well. But yeah, it's just good.
Have I sent you those clips where people think that Stevie Wonder is not actually blind?
Yeah, you showed me that. I mean...
Yeah, because there's two that are There's two that are pretty funny. One, he's doing some like ensemble music thing on stage, and the mic starts to like fall, or the mic stand starts to tip over, and he just like reaches out and grabs it as it's falling. Mm-hmm. And then the other one was Shaq during some like TNT NBA Tonight thing, was telling the story about how he got on an elevator one time and it was just Stevie Wonder, and he's like, "What's up, Shaq?" It's like, I hadn't even said anything to him. It's like, that's me.
That's kind of weird. Yeah. I don't even know how you'd begin to explain that unless Shaq was just talking out of his asshole. I can see the one on stage, though, like just, you know, knowing his way around a stage and the way everything's choreographed, maybe, or just like, I'm sure his senses are like attuned to, like, you know, he could hear the mic stand going and like it was just a reaction and coinky dink that. But yeah, if you look at it, it's like, yeah, that's pretty fucking weird.
Sure. Keep denying the truth.
All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for, that's going to do it for us here at Waxing the Porpoise. Yeah, if you guys have any comments, let us know what you think of Near Dark. You can hit us up on our email at waxingtheporpoise.com. Find us on socials, Insta, Waxing the Porpoise, or Twitter at waxingtheporp. Be sure to, if you guys are digging what you're hearing, and you want to throw us a 5-star or give us any kind of review on Apple Podcasts, that's a big one, and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. So going into next week, it's been pre-decided. Instead of doing our Wheel of Fate, we're going to do a little bit of a role reversal. So next week we'll be talking about a film that Steve has seen that he champions, which I have not seen. So little role reversal as we watch The Believer. What is this from? 2004?
I think it's 2001.
2001.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2001.
Starring
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big Gosling
Billy
fan.
Zane.
Ooh, Billy Zane's in it?
I think so. I might be confusing him with somebody else who looks like him. But you should listen to your pal, Billy Zane. He's a pretty cool dude.
Trying to help you out.
Let's see.
Shut it, Zane!
Yeah, Billy Zane's in it.
Okay. The Zang Mang. Yeah, he's awesome. I'm sold already. Cool. So yeah, we'll be talking about that next week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the flippity flop.
I am the last one.
Chase, don't do that.
All right.
See, we working on his brow chakra. We just sit back at the crown chakra.
Knock the shit out your ugly ass.